My wife scolded me after I told her and his brother who lives with us that he had to cut expenses. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved ones. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. MPO. I gave my wife's brother a place to stay when he lost his job. At first, it felt like the right thing to do. He had nowhere else to go, and we thought it would just be for a few weeks. Weeks turned into months. 14 months, to be exact. 14 months of him sleeping on our couch, using our things, eating our food, and contributing nothing. Not a dollar, not even an offer. I paid all the bills. Rent, electricity, internet, groceries, you name it. Every time I looked at the bank account, I felt the pressure building. Still, I kept quiet because I loved my wife and didn't want to cause problems between her and her brother. But it wore me down. I worked long hours just to keep us going, and every evening I'd come home to see him playing video games, laughing like life was one big vacation. One day, after a tough month at work, I finally said something. I asked if he could at least pitch in for groceries. Nothing major, just a bit to help out. That's when everything changed. My wife looked at me like I'd insulted her. She said I was being rude and unfair. He's family, she told me. He's going through a hard time. What about me? I was going through a hard time too. But somehow I became the villain. Her tone changed. Her warmth disappeared. The man I'd fed, sheltered, and treated like a brother stopped speaking to me unless he had to. The house felt colder after that. I didn't argue. I didn't fight back. Instead, I started setting money aside, quietly. I opened a separate account and saved what I could. If I was going to be treated like a stranger in my own home, I needed a backup plan. I also stopped doing the extra things. No more takeout, no surprise gifts, no helping out when her car needed repairs. I kept my head down, but I was planning my exit. Love doesn't survive in a house where one person gives everything and gets nothing back. What hurt the most wasn't the money. It was knowing that when I needed a little support, the people I cared about didn't just let me down, they turned on me. I'm not sure what will happen next, but I know this. The next time I offer help, it'll come with a timeline and a limit. He ate my food, used my car without asking, and slept all day while I worked 2 jobs. At first, I didn't say anything. He was my wife's brother, and he was going through a rough patch. I thought it would pass. I figured a couple weeks of rest would help him get back on his feet. But those weeks stretched into months. Still, I waited, tried to be patient. Every morning, I'd get up early, make coffee, and head to work. I'd come home exhausted to find leftovers gone, gas tank empty, and my car parked crooked in the driveway. He didn't even try to hide it. He acted like everything in our house was his. My things slowly became ours, and then just his. I never agreed to that. I never even got a thank you. I talked to my wife about it, gently at first. I said we needed to set some rules. Maybe he could get a part-time job, or at least help around the house. Her face changed instantly. He's trying, she said. Don't be so selfish. Selfish. That hit me harder than I expected. I didn't know how giving someone a place to stay, feeding them, letting them use my car, and paying all the bills made me selfish. From that day on, I started keeping track. Every meal he took. Every time my car's mileage jumped while I was at work. Every day the trash piled up and the sink overflowed. I had to document it, if only to remind myself I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining the disrespect. The turning point came when I got a call from my boss. I was being written up for being late. My car had run out of gas that morning. I found out later that my brother-in-law had taken it the night before without telling me. Again, that night, I confronted both of them. I laid it all out. The money, the gas, the disrespect, the stress. My wife didn't deny any of it. She just stared at me cold and said, "He's my brother. I won't turn my back on him." And just like that, I realized where I stood in her life. Not as a husband, not even as a partner. Just the guy who paid for everything while being told he was selfish for expecting respect. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how I became the outsider in my own home. But I do know I'm done being quiet. I'm done being the one who gives everything and gets blamed for wanting a little peace in return. I was working 60-hour weeks, doing everything I could to keep us afloat. Rent was rising, bills were piling up, and overtime was the only thing keeping us above water. Every extra shift meant less time to rest, less time with my wife, but I thought it was worth it. I thought we were a team. One night, I came home early. I was supposed to stay late, but my boss let me go early as a thank you. When I stepped inside, they didn't hear me. My wife and her brother were in the kitchen, laughing, whispering, and pulling up travel sites on her laptop. I stood just around the corner, frozen. "What about Cancun?" her brother said. "That's perfect," she replied. "He just got paid too. This is the perfect time to book it." At first, I couldn't process it. I hoped maybe they meant something else. Maybe I was hearing wrong. But no, They went on talking about flight times, hotel packages, excursions, all charged to my card. They were planning a vacation with the money I was killing myself to earn. Later that night, I asked her about it. I didn't mention what I heard, just asked how things were going, if she had any plans. She lied right to my face. That was worse than the trip itself. When I finally confronted her, all hell broke loose. She didn't deny it. She doubled down. Said I was never around, that I didn't make time for fun, that her brother needed something to lift his spirits. That night, I started a spreadsheet. Every dollar earned, every cent spent. I combed through bank statements, tracking where my money had gone. Uber rides I never took. Grocery bills twice as high. Subscription services I never used. It wasn't just the vacation. It had been going on for months. Slow leaks in my account I hadn't noticed because I was too tired, too trusting. When I showed her the numbers, she didn't say sorry. She said I was acting like an accountant, that I was controlling. Her brother just walked past me, smirking, as if I was some annoying landlord asking for. That was the moment everything became clear. Love isn't blind. Love notices when someone keeps taking without giving. I packed a bag the next day, not for a vacation, but for peace. Because if they wanted a getaway so badly, they could have it. Just without me. I'd already paid the price. I didn't go looking for proof. I was just checking our bank statements to see why the numbers weren't adding up. We had been struggling for months. Late fees, overdrafts. I even sold my old guitar to help cover one of the utility bills. So when I saw cash withdrawals I didn't recognize, I got curious. Then came the credit card charges, small at first, then larger. Grocery store runs twice a week, gas fill-ups when my tank was still full, and random Venmo transfers marked help. At first, I assumed maybe she was using it for something we both needed. Maybe I forgot a purchase. But as I kept going back, the pattern was clear. Every time we had a hard month, there were payments made to support her brother. I found the receipts, crumpled in the trash, some folded inside her purse. Restaurant takeout I never ate. A video game I never played. Clothes I'd never seen. I waited until the house was quiet and showed her everything. She didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. Instead, she got angry. She said I was spying, snooping, and making a big deal out of nothing. But it was a big deal. We were late on rent. Our power had been shut off once already. I was working double shifts, skipping meals just to keep things going. And all this time, she was giving him money behind my back, acting like we were broke while secretly bankrolling his lazy lifestyle. She called it helping family. I called it betrayal. The worst part wasn't even the money. It was the fact that she didn't tell me. She let me carry all the weight while making me feel like I wasn't doing enough. Meanwhile, he slept all day, played video games, and lived like nothing was wrong. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't even argue. I just said I was done. No more secret support. No more covering for someone who refuses to help himself. If she wanted to keep helping him, she'd be doing it without me. She thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. I opened my own account, started separating the finances. I needed a line I wouldn't let anyone cross again, not even her. Maybe love is about sacrifice, but it's not about letting someone drain you while they lie to your face. That boundary saved me, not just financially, but emotionally too. I waited longer than I should have. Months passed with him doing nothing. No job, no effort, no rent. Just sleeping late, eating our food, and playing video games. I stayed quiet, hoping things would change, but nothing did. So I finally gave him a deadline, 30 days to move out. I told him calmly, no shouting, no threats, just facts. I said, it's time. You've had enough time to figure things out. You need to find your own place. He didn't say much, just shrugged and walked away. But that night, my wife exploded. She was furious. How could you do that without talking to me first? She said. I reminded her we had talked about it several times. Every time I brought it up, she said, just a little longer. But a little longer turned into almost a year. This time, she didn't ask for more time. She demanded I take it back. She told me I needed to apologize to her brother and tell him he could stay as long as he wanted. That's when I realized I wasn't her partner anymore. I was just the guy paying for everything. She didn't care how I felt. Didn't care how stressed I'd been, how tired I was from working 2 jobs while he sat on the couch all day. She only cared that her brother didn't feel disrespected. I asked her, what about me? Don't I deserve respect in my own home? She said, he's my brother. He comes first. That was the moment something cracked inside me. I had built a life with this woman, thinking we were a team. But suddenly, I was being told that no matter what, I came second. She gave me an ultimatum. Either take it back, or this marriage is over. It felt like a punch in the gut. Not because of the threat, but because I knew she meant it. She wasn't willing to compromise, not even a little. So I didn't back down. I didn't yell, didn't plead. I just stood there and said, then maybe this marriage was already over. She stared at me, silent. Maybe she thought I'd cave. But I didn't. Because sometimes, when someone gives you a choice between your self-respect and their comfort, the right answer is to walk away. I didn't want it to end this way. I didn't want to lose her. But I was already losing myself. And no, relationship is worth that. At first, it was just about helping family. Her brother needed a place to stay, and I agreed without hesitation. I thought it would be temporary, maybe a few weeks while he figured things out. But months passed and nothing changed. He didn't work, didn't clean, didn't offer to help with bills. He just existed in our space like a shadow that never left. I paid for everything: rent, food, utilities, gas. I didn't complain at first, because I believed we were doing a good thing. But over time, the weight of carrying 3 adults on one income started to crush me. The stress piled up. What made it worse wasn't just the money. It was the silence between my wife and me. She started pulling away. Not just physically, but emotionally too. She stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Our conversations became short, tense. When I tried to talk about how I was feeling, she shut down. Said I was being selfish. He's family, she reminded me, like that made everything okay. But it wasn't okay. I was exhausted, drained, and lonely in my own home. I'd come home to find them laughing on the couch, while I felt like a stranger passing through. The nights got colder, not because of the weather, but because I was sleeping alone more often than not. She always had a reason: too tired, not in the mood, not feeling well. I started to wonder if I had done something wrong. Was I not doing enough? Was I not being kind enough? But the truth hit me one night when I heard her laughing with her brother in the kitchen while I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. It wasn't me. It was us. Our connection had been slowly unraveling, and the third person in our home was pulling at every thread. When I finally brought it up, when I told her I felt distant, like we weren't partners anymore, she didn't try to understand. She accused me of lacking compassion. She said I was making everything about money. But it was never just about money. It was about feeling pushed aside in my own marriage. It was about watching the person I love care more about keeping her brother comfortable than keeping our relationship alive. I realized then that I was paying for 3 adults to live under my roof, but I was the only one carrying the load, and the only one sleeping alone. And that's when I knew something had to change. We were behind on bills again. I checked the bank account, saw the numbers, and knew something had to give. So I made a simple decision. I canceled the Netflix subscription. It was $15 a month, and no one else seemed to be paying attention to how tight things were getting. I figured it was no big deal. But the next evening, I came home to chaos. My brother-in-law was pacing the living room, arms crossed, looking like someone had stolen his car. My wife sat on the couch, glaring at me. I didn't even get a hello. "What's wrong with you?" he snapped. "You didn't even ask before cutting it off." I blinked. "It's just Netflix. We can't afford it right now." That's when my wife chimed in. "You didn't talk to us. You just decided on your own." That's controlling. Controlling. That word hit me harder than I expected. I'd been working extra hours to keep the lights on while he sat at home watching shows all day. Now I was the bad guy for pulling the plug on entertainment we couldn't afford? "You're acting abusive," her brother asked. "First it's Netflix, then what? Taking away our phones." Our phones. The man didn't even pay for his own data plan. That night, I started writing everything down. Every payment I made. Every expense they didn't cover. Every moment where I felt like the outsider in my own house. I wasn't trying to build a case. I just needed proof for myself that I wasn't crazy. The more I wrote, the clearer it became. I wasn't living with a wife and a temporary guest. I was sharing a home with 2 people who saw me as a walking ATM. Their idea of abuse was losing a streaming service. Mine was being made to feel guilty for asking others to help with basic responsibilities. Weeks passed and things got worse. They mocked me when I brought groceries that weren't their favorites. Laughed when I said we needed to cut back. I kept writing. One day, I printed it all. Bank statements, receipts, notes, everything. I sat them down and showed them the reality of our finance. Her brother rolled his eyes. My wife said I was being dramatic, but I wasn't asking for understanding anymore. I was giving notice. I told her I couldn't do it anymore. Not financially, not emotionally. She called it selfish. I called it survival. If canceling Netflix broke the house, maybe it was already broken. He moved in with nothing but a backpack and a promise. "Just until I get back on my feet," he said. I believed him. I thought maybe a month or 2 tops. That was 2 years ago. Since then, not a single dollar toward rent. Not one grocery run. Not even a job application that I know of. Every time I asked if he was making progress, he gave the same answer. "I'm trying. Things are just rough right now." At first, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I told myself he needed time, that maybe it was harder for him than I understood. But weeks became months, and months stretched into years. And still nothing changed except me. I stopped inviting people over. I stopped relaxing in my own living room. I avoided arguments just to keep the peace. My home didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a place I paid for that everyone else just lived in. Eventually, I hit my limit. I sat them both down and had what I thought would be a calm, honest conversation. I laid it all out: the financial pressure, the emotional strain, the fact that this situation wasn't fair. He stayed quiet as usual. My wife, on the other hand, didn't hold back. She said I was being heartless, that I didn't understand what he'd been through. I asked her what that meant. What exactly was I missing? That's when she dropped it. He was paying, she said. I've been covering his part with my savings. My jaw dropped. I had no idea she even had savings left. We had been talking about cutting expenses for months. She'd let me think we were broke, all while secretly supporting her brother behind my back. The betrayal hit me like a punch. It wasn't just about money. It was about trust, about partnership, about respect. She made decisions that affected both of us without telling me, while letting me carry the guilt for being too harsh. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the bed, thinking about how much I had given up to hold everything together. And for what? To be lied to? To be told I was cold because I asked for fairness? The next morning, I started packing a bag. Not because I wanted to leave, but because I needed space to think. If they wanted to keep living like this, they could do it without me. 2 years is long enough. I had waited for change. What I got was a secret. I was tired of the tension at home. Tired of watching him sleep in, eat my food, and contribute nothing. Still, I tried to be the bigger person. I found out there was an opening at my company. Entry-level, decent pay, nothing special, but a start. I told my wife, and she was thrilled. This could be the break he needs, she said. So I vouched for him, put my name on the line, told my boss he was a hard worker, reliable, just needed a chance. I even helped him prep for the interview. He got the job. My wife was overjoyed. For a moment, I thought maybe things were finally turning around. That feeling didn't last. Within a few weeks, things got weird at work. People started looking at me differently. Some avoided me. My manager, who had always trusted me, suddenly became cold. I couldn't figure out what had changed until I overheard a conversation in the break room. He said you only got your position because your wife's connected. He said you're lazy, just good at pretending to be busy. They were talking about me, and they were quoting him. I was stunned. The man I'd helped, the man sleeping in my house rent-free, was bad-mouthing me at my own job. And people believed him. The damage was quick. I was pulled from projects, given fewer responsibilities. Eventually, I was demoted. When I told my wife, expecting outrage or at least shock, all she said was, "Maybe you're just overreacting. You've always been impatient with him." Impatient? After 2 years of free rent? After giving him a chance I wouldn't give to most friends? That's when something inside me flipped. I didn't argue. I didn't try to prove anything. I just started planning. Quietly, calmly. I pulled all the financial record. I canceled shared accounts. I moved my direct deposit to a private bank. I started saving, every penny. While they watched TV together and acted like everything was fine, I was building my escape. One morning, I left before sunrise. I didn't leave a note, just took what was mine and disappeared. She called later, furious. "You blindsided me," she said. But I didn't feel guilty, because I'd been blindsided too, by the man I helped and the woman who called me cruel for finally setting a boundary. If standing up for yourself is cruelty, then maybe being kind is what broke me in the first place. I was walking past the living room when I heard her talking to her brother. She didn't know I was home early. I paused when I heard my name. "He's just jealous of our bond," she said. "He can't stand that I have real family here." That sentence hit me like a brick. After everything I'd done, all the bills I'd paid, all the times I'd stayed silent just to keep the peace, I was being painted as the outsider. Real family. I had been carrying the weight of the household for years. Rent, groceries, car payments, everything. Her brother hadn't contributed a single dollar. He ate, slept, and lounged while I worked overtime. Still, I never asked for much. Just a little respect. A little effort. Instead, I got labeled jealous. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't bring it up. I just watched, observed, and started planning. First, I opened a new bank account, moved my direct deposit, changed password. I kept everything quiet. I began withdrawing slowly. Less cash for shared groceries, no more paying off her credit card, no random gifts or takeout. She noticed eventually. Asked if I was okay. I said I was tired, just stressed from work. She went back to her usual routine, spending my money while calling me cold behind my back. Then one morning I left. No fight, no warning. I packed a bag, grabbed the essentials, and walked out. I didn't answer calls. I didn't reply to texts. I went silent. I wanted her to feel what independence really meant, not emotional, but financial. The kind she had never known because I'd always been the one holding everything together. Days turned into a week. She finally messaged, "We need to talk." I met her in a public place. She looked shocked, less angry, more panicked. Rent was due. The fridge was empty. Her brother had vanished to a friend's place the moment things got tough. I didn't know it was that serious, she said. You never asked, I replied. She begged me to come back, promised things would change, but I wasn't sure if I believed her. She once told me I was threatened by real family, so I gave her the freedom she thought she wanted. Let her find out what family looks like when the bills roll in and love alone doesn't keep the lights on. Some lessons cost money, others cost connection. This one cost both.